She lied and said she was pregnant to escape a terrible date. A stranger backed her up. And that single lie turned into the most dangerous truth of her life. Stay with me, because the man who stepped in wasn't just a stranger. And the lie didn't end the way anyone expected. Maya Thompson's voice cut through the elegant hum of Marcelo's restaurant like a knife through silk. I'm pregnant. The words hung in the air, sharp and impossible. Her date, Evan Clark, froze with his wine glass halfway to his lips, his confident smile cracking like thin ice. Conversations at nearby tables stuttered and died. The couple to her left stopped mid-laugh. A waiter paused, tray balanced on one hand, staring. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs as she watched the color drain from Evan's face, replaced by something darker. Confusion. Then anger. What did you just say? His voice was low, controlled, the kind of quiet that preceded storms. Maya opened her mouth, panic clawing at her throat, realizing she'd just made everything worse. She'd wanted to shock him, to make him back off, to create an exit from a date that had gone from uncomfortable to suffocating in the span of 2 hours. But now every eye in the restaurant was on her, and Evan's hand was tightening around his glass, knuckles going white. Before she could backtrack, before she could explain or apologize or run, a voice came from the table directly behind her. Deep. Calm. Authoritative. She's carrying my child. Maya's entire body went rigid. She turned slowly, her neck moving like it was filled with broken glass, to see a man she'd never met standing up from his table. He was tall, maybe early 30s, with dark hair pushed back from a face that could have belonged to a doctor or a lawyer or someone who'd learned early how to command a room. His suit was expensive but not flashy, his expression serious but not aggressive. He looked at Evan with the kind of steady confidence that made weaker men fold. Evan shot to his feet, chair scraping loudly against hardwood. What the hell are you talking about? Who are you? The stranger moved around his table with deliberate slowness, closing the distance between them. Julian Reyes. He extended his hand to Maya first, not to Evan, and the gesture felt significant in ways she couldn't process through her shock. We should probably talk, Maya. He knew her name. How did he know her name? Maya's mind spun, trying to understand what was happening, why a complete stranger was playing along with her desperate lie, what he wanted in return. But Evan was still standing there, face flushed with humiliation and rage, and suddenly having Julian beside her felt safer than facing Evan alone. You're the father? Evan's voice dripped with disbelief and something uglier. That's convenient. Real convenient timing. Julian's expression didn't change. We've been seeing each other for 6 months. The pregnancy is 8 weeks along. She agreed to meet you tonight because her mother has been pressuring her to move on, to pretend I don't exist, because I'm not the kind of man her family wanted for her. He turned to Maya, and his eyes held a question, a dare, a lifeline all at once. But we can't keep pretending anymore, can we? Maya's throat was so tight she could barely breathe, but she managed to shake her head. Julian's hand found hers under the table, warm and solid, and squeezed once. The touch sent electricity up her arm, part gratitude, part terror, part something she couldn't name. Evan stared at them both, his jaw working like he was chewing glass. This is insane. You're lying. Both of you are lying. Believe what you want. Julian's voice remained infuriatingly calm. But Maya and I are leaving now. She needs rest. The first trimester has been difficult. He helped Maya to her feet, his hand moving to the small of her back with a familiarity that looked practiced, natural, real. Maya grabbed her purse with shaking fingers, avoiding Evan's eyes, avoiding everyone's eyes as Julian guided her through the restaurant. Whispers followed them like wind through leaves. She heard someone say, "Poor thing," and someone else say, "How dramatic," and another voice murmur, "I knew something was off about her." The night air hit her face like cold water, shocking her back into her body. She pulled away from Julian immediately, stumbling back against the brick wall of the restaurant, her legs unsteady. What just happened? Why would you do that? Julian stood a respectful distance away, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable in the dim light from the street lamps. You looked terrified. I've seen that look before. Whatever was happening in there, you wanted out. So you just decided to pretend to be the father of my fake baby? Maya's voice rose, hysteria creeping in around the edges. Do you understand how insane that is? More or less insane than faking a pregnancy to escape a bad date? He tilted his head, and she saw the ghost of a smile. I made a judgment call. If I was wrong, I apologize. Maya pressed her hands to her face, trying to breathe, trying to think. Her phone buzzed in her purse. Then again. And again. She pulled it out with trembling fingers to see 3 texts from her best friend Kieran, 2 from her mother, and 1 from a number she didn't recognize. All asking variations of the same question. All having somehow already heard. Oh God. Her knees buckled slightly, and Julian moved forward, catching her elbow. Easy. Breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Everyone's going to know. Everyone's going to think I'm pregnant. My mother is going to lose her mind. My boss is going to ask questions. I work in corporate law, I can't just— She broke off, dizzy with panic. Julian's grip on her elbow tightened, steadying. Then we fix it. We tell people it was a misunderstanding. A joke that went wrong. Whatever you need. A joke. Maya laughed, and it sounded unhinged even to her own ears. You think people will believe that? What do you want me to say? For the first time, she heard frustration in his voice. I was trying to help. I saw a woman in trouble and I reacted. I'm sorry if I made things worse. Maya looked at him, really looked at him, trying to understand his angle, his game, what he wanted from her. But all she saw was genuine concern mixed with something else. Something that looked almost like recognition, like he'd seen himself in her panic and couldn't walk away. Who are you? She asked quietly. I told you. Julian Reyes. That's a name. Not an answer. He considered her for a long moment, then gestured to the bench outside a closed bookstore a few doors down. Sit. Please. Before you pass out. Maya let him guide her to the bench, let him sit beside her with careful space between them, let herself breathe for what felt like the first time in hours. The street was quiet, just a few cars passing, a couple walking hand in hand on the other side, their laughter floating through the darkness. Normal people having normal nights. Maya wanted to scream. I'm a medical resident, Julian said finally. 3rd year. I was having dinner with my attending physician before you ask why I was alone. He left early for a call. I was finishing my wine when I heard you. So you're actually a doctor? Almost. Close enough. He turned to look at her. Your date. Evan. I heard him earlier. Before you made your announcement. He was pushing you. Kept asking why you wouldn't leave with him, why you were being difficult. Told you that you owed him a chance because he'd paid for dinner. Classic control tactics. Maya's chest tightened with shame and validation all at once. You heard all that? Tables are close together. Sound carries. His voice gentled. You didn't do anything wrong. You know that, right? Faking pregnancy was creative, if desperate. But you were trying to protect yourself. And now I'm in a worse situation. She showed him her phone, the messages multiplying like bacteria. Someone at the restaurant posted about it. There's already a video circulating. Someone filmed us. Julian took her phone, scrolling through with a frown that deepened with each swipe. Well, that complicates things. You think. Maya snatched her phone back. What am I supposed to do? My mother is calling. She actually believes it. She's asking when I was going to tell her why I kept it secret if you're someone she's met before. What do you want to do? The question caught her off guard. What? What do you want to do? Julian repeated, slower, like he was talking to a panicking patient. We have options. Option 1, we come clean immediately. Face the embarrassment head-on, deal with the fallout, move on with your life. Option 2, we let it breathe for a night. Let emotions settle. Then address it more carefully with the people who matter. Or option 3, Maya said bitterly, I fake a miscarriage in 2 weeks and traumatize everyone I know. Julian winced. Let's not go there. Why not? That's where this ends up, doesn't it? I can't stay fake pregnant forever. Eventually people will expect to see a baby. And there's no baby. There's nothing. She was spiraling. She could feel herself spiraling, but she couldn't stop. Hey. Julian's hand covered hers, warm and grounding. One problem at a time. Tonight, You tell your mother you'll call her tomorrow. You tell your friend the same thing. You go home, you sleep, and tomorrow we figure out damage control. Together. Why would you help me with tomorrow? Maya pulled her hand back, suddenly suspicious again. What do you get out of this? Julian was quiet for a beat too long. Maybe I just want to help. Nobody just wants to help. Not like this. Not strangers. Then maybe I'm not a stranger anymore. He stood up, pulling a business card from his wallet and holding it out to her. Julian Reyes. Medical resident at Mercy General. That's my personal cell on the back. If you need help navigating this, call me. If you want me to disappear and never contact you again, don't call. Your choice, Maya. But either way, I hope you get home safe. He walked away before she could respond, his footsteps echoing down the empty street until they faded completely. Maya sat alone on the bench, holding his card, her phone still buzzing with increasingly frantic messages, her life spiraling further out of control with every passing second. She should go home. She should call her mother. She should figure out how to fix this disaster. But instead, she just sat there, staring at Julian Reyes's name in raised black letters, wondering if she'd just been saved or if she'd invited something far more dangerous into her life. The next morning came too fast and too bright. Maya woke to 17 missed calls, 43 text messages, and the realization that her fake pregnancy had made it to 3 different social media platforms overnight. The video from the restaurant had been viewed over 50,000 times. Comments ranged from supportive to vicious to bizarre. Someone had created a poll asking if people thought she was lying. 72% said yes. Maya called in sick to work, which wasn't technically a lie since she felt like death, and spent 2 hours crafting and deleting text messages to her mother before finally settling on, "Mom, it's complicated. Can we talk in person?" She got back an immediate "coming over in an hour" and wanted to throw her phone out the window. Instead, she did something arguably more reckless. She called Julian. He answered on the second ring. "Maya, how are you holding up?" "I'm not." Her voice cracked embarrassingly. "My mother's coming over. I don't know what to tell her. The internet thinks I'm either a liar or a victim or both. Someone sent the video to my office manager. I'm having a full breakdown, so thanks for asking. Where are you?" "Home." "Why?" "Text me your address. I'll be there in 20 minutes. "Julian, you don't have to." "Address. 20 minutes. He hung up before she could argue. Maya stared at her phone, torn between relief and fresh panic. Inviting him to her apartment felt significant, dangerous, like crossing a line she couldn't uncross. But she was drowning, and he was offering a hand, and she was too desperate to care about the wisdom of grabbing it. 19 minutes later, her doorbell rang. Maya opened it to find Julian holding 2 coffee cups and a bag from the bakery down the street. He looked different in daylight, less mysterious, more real. His hair was slightly damp like he'd just showered, and he wasn't wearing a suit this time, just dark jeans and a gray sweater that made his eyes look darker. "You didn't have to bring breakfast," Maya said, stepping aside to let him in. "You probably haven't eaten. Stressed as that?" He set the coffees and bag on her small kitchen counter, taking in her apartment with a quick, assessing glance. "Nice place." "It's a shoebox, but thanks." Maya wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of how intimate this was, how strange. A man she'd met 12 hours ago was standing in her kitchen like he belonged there. "My mother's going to be here soon. I need to know what I'm going to say. Do you want to tell her the truth?" "I don't know." "Yes? No? Maybe?" Maya ran her hands through her unbrushed hair. "The truth makes me look insane. But lying makes everything worse." "Not everything." Julian leaned against her counter, crossing his ankles. "If we commit to the lie, just for a little while, we control the narrative. We decide how it ends. A miscarriage in a few weeks is tragic but natural. People will be sympathetic, not suspicious." Maya's stomach turned. "That feels manipulative." "It is manipulative. But so is what Evan did to you last night. Sometimes you have to fight manipulation with strategy." He held up his hands. "I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying it's an option. Your choice always." Before Maya could respond, her doorbell rang again. She checked her watch. "That's her. That's my mother. Do you want me to leave?" No. The word came out faster than Maya expected. No, stay. Please. If she thinks you're real, if she meets you, it makes everything more believable. I was going to say complicated, but sure, let's go with believable. Maya moved toward the door, then paused. Whatever I say in there, just go with it. Please. Julian nodded once, his expression shifting into something professional and confident. I've got your back. Maya opened the door to find her mother, Patricia Thompson, standing in the hallway with a container of what smelled like soup and an expression caught between joy and hurt. Baby girl. Why didn't you tell me? Mom, Patricia pushed past her into the apartment, froze when she saw Julian, and her face transformed into something between suspicion and curiosity. You must be the father. Julian stepped forward smoothly, extending his hand with a warm smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Mrs. Thompson. Julian Reyes. I wish we were meeting under better circumstances. Better circumstances? Patricia shook his hand slowly, her grip testing. My daughter has been hiding a pregnancy and a boyfriend from me. I'd say these are pretty interesting circumstances. Mom, please, Maya started. How far along is she? Patricia directed the question at Julian, not Maya, and something in that dynamic made Maya's jaw clench. 8 weeks, Julian answered without hesitation. We found out 2 weeks ago. Maya wanted to wait until after the first trimester to tell anyone. The risk of miscarriage is higher early on, and she didn't want to worry you unnecessarily. Patricia's expression softened slightly. That's very thoughtful. Paranoid, but thoughtful. She turned to Maya. Is this why you've been so distant lately? Why you haven't been returning my calls? Yes, Maya lied, the word tasting like copper. I've been trying to figure everything out. It wasn't planned, and I'm still processing. Clearly, since you were on a date with another man last night. Patricia's voice sharpened. What was that about, Maya? Were you testing this young man? Seeing if he'd fight for you? No, that's not, Maya stammered, thrown by her mother's interpretation. My fault entirely, Julian interjected smoothly. We had a fight. About timing, about whether we were ready for this. I said some things I shouldn't have. Maya agreed to meet Evan as a way of, I don't know, proving a point maybe. That she had options. That I needed to step up or step aside. He looked at Maya with an expression so genuine it made her chest ache. And she was right. I should have been more supportive from the beginning. I'm sorry, Maya. Maya stared at him, momentarily speechless. He was good at this. Too good. Like he'd been preparing for this exact scenario his entire life. Patricia studied them both, her lawyer's mind clearly working through the story, looking for holes. Finally, she sighed. Well, I suppose what matters is that you're together now. And that my grandchild will have 2 parents who love each other. She paused meaningfully. You do love each other, don't you? Yes, Julian said at the exact same moment Maya said, it's complicated. They looked at each other. Maya saw something flicker in Julian's eyes, something that looked almost like hurt before he masked it. We love each other, he corrected. The situation is complicated. But our feelings aren't. Patricia seemed satisfied with that answer. She handed the soup container to Maya. Eat this. You need nutrients. And Julian, you and I are going to have a long talk very soon about your intentions with my daughter. Looking forward to it, Mrs. Thompson. After Patricia left with promises to call later and demands that they come for dinner on Sunday, Maya closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling shakily. That was... Thank you. You were amazing with her. Julian had moved to the window, looking out at the street below, his shoulders tense. I'm good at pretending. Julian. You should eat the soup. He didn't turn around. Your mother's right. You need to take care of yourself. Why are you helping me? Maya asked, the question raw and desperate. Really helping me? You don't know me. This isn't your problem. So why? Julian was quiet for so long Maya thought he wouldn't answer. Then he turned, and the expression on his face made her breath catch. Because 5 years ago, my fiancé told me she was pregnant. We were happy. Terrified, but happy. We planned. We prepared. We told everyone. And then at 12 weeks, we lost the baby. And 2 months after that, I lost her too. She couldn't forgive me for not being enough, for not being able to fix what was broken. Maya's hand flew to her mouth. Julian, I'm so sorry. When I saw you last night, when you said you were pregnant, I saw her. I saw that moment when everything changed. And I thought, maybe this time I could help. Maybe this time I could make sure someone didn't have to face it alone." He laughed bitterly. "Instead, I've trapped you in a lie that's only getting bigger. So maybe I'm not helping at all. Maybe I'm just making everything worse because I can't let go of something that happened half a decade ago." Maya crossed the room without thinking, stopping directly in front of him. "You helped me. Last night, you saved me from something that could have ended badly. And today, you saved me from my mother's judgment. You didn't make anything worse, Julian. You gave me options when I had none. Options that involve more lying. Maybe. But they're my lies now. My choices." She took a shaky breath. "And if you're willing, I want your help seeing this through. However it ends." Julian looked down at her, and Maya saw the moment his professional mask cracked completely. "However it ends," he repeated softly. "Even if that means people thinking we're together? Thinking we're having a child? Even then. That's dangerous, Maya. For both of us." "I know." And she did know, could feel the danger radiating between them like heat, could sense that this lie was going to consume them both if they weren't careful. But careful had never saved her before. Careful had led her to that disastrous date with Evan. Careful had left her vulnerable and alone. "Okay," Julian said finally. "Then we do this right. We create a timeline. We get our story straight. We prepare for questions. And in 6 weeks, we tell people you miscarried. Clean ending. No more lies after that." "No more lies," Maya agreed, even though something in her chest twisted at the thought of Julian disappearing from her life in 6 weeks. They spent the next 3 hours at her kitchen table, building their fake relationship with the careful precision of architects designing a building they knew would eventually be demolished. They decided they'd met at a hospital charity event 6 months ago. That they'd kept it quiet because Maya was private and Julian was cautious after his previous heartbreak. That the pregnancy was unplanned but welcomed. That they were taking it one day at a time. By the time Julian left, promising to pick her up for her mother's dinner on Sunday, Maya felt like she'd lived an entire lifetime in 24 hours. She closed the door behind him and slid down to sit on the floor, her head in her hands, trying to understand what she'd just committed to. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I know you're lying. Both of you. And I'm going to prove it. Evan." Of course Evan hadn't let this go. Maya stared at the message until the screen went dark, until her apartment felt too quiet and too small, until she couldn't tell anymore if she'd made the smartest decision of her life or the most dangerous. If you're still watching this story, hit that subscribe button now. Because what happens next is going to get a lot more intense. Drop a comment telling me if you think Maya should come clean or keep lying. Your engagement helps this channel grow. The next 6 weeks became a masterclass in deception. Julian attended Maya's fake doctor appointments, holding her hand in waiting rooms and asking intelligent questions that made even her actual physician believe he was invested. They went to Sunday dinners at Patricia's house, where Julian charmed her mother with stories from medical school and praised her cooking with genuine enthusiasm. He sent Maya texts throughout the day checking on her, calling it keeping up appearances, but doing it with a frequency that felt less like pretending and more like caring. Maya's coworkers threw her a surprise baby shower at the office, and Julian showed up with flowers and a speech about how lucky he was that made 3 people cry. Evan sent increasingly threatening messages that Julian screenshotted and documented just in case. And somewhere in all the pretending, Maya started to forget they were pretending. It happened in small moments. The way Julian's hand would find hers automatically when they were in public. The inside jokes that developed about morning sickness and baby names. The night Julian stayed over because Maya was anxious about work, and they fell asleep on her couch watching a movie, and she woke to find his arm around her and didn't want to move. The morning he brought her coffee exactly how she liked it without asking. The way he looked at her sometimes like she was real to him, like this was real to them both. "We're getting too good at this," Maya said one night, 5 weeks and 4 days into their arrangement. They were at his apartment this time, a space that was sparse but comfortable, filled with medical textbooks and photographs of places he'd traveled. "People actually believe we're together. Isn't that the point?" Julian was cooking dinner, something that had become their routine. He cooked, she provided commentary and wine. They ate and talked about everything except the fact that their relationship had an expiration date. The point was to survive 6 weeks. We've almost made it. We should be planning the miscarriage announcement. Instead She gestured vaguely at the domestic scene. Whatever this is. Julian set down his spatula, turning to face her fully. Whatever this is, he repeated. Do you want me to tell you what I think this is? Maya's heart kicked into high gear. I don't know. Do I? I think we stopped pretending somewhere around week 3. I think you feel it too. This thing between us that's real and terrifying and completely inappropriate given how it started. Julian. I'm in love with you. The words dropped into the space between them like stones into still water. I know that's insane. I know we built this on lies. I know in 3 days you're supposed to tell everyone you miscarried and we're supposed to go our separate ways. But I'm in love with you, Maya, and I don't know how to pretend I'm not anymore. Maya couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Could only stare at him while her carefully constructed walls crumbled. You can't be in love with me. This isn't real. It feels pretty real to me. It's trauma bonding. It's prolonged pretending. It's love. Julian crossed to her, his hands framing her face with devastating gentleness. And if you don't feel it too, tell me now. Tell me I'm alone in this, and I'll walk away. We'll do the announcement, we'll end this cleanly, and I'll never contact you again. Maya's eyes burned. That's not fair. None of this is fair. But it's true. So tell me, Maya. Do you feel it too? She wanted to lie. Wanted to protect herself from the inevitable pain of trusting someone, of being vulnerable, of admitting that somewhere in the middle of their elaborate fiction, she'd fallen completely and irrevocably in love with Julian Reyes. But she'd been lying for 6 weeks, and she was so tired of lying. Yes, she whispered. I feel it too. Julian kissed her like he'd been waiting his entire life for permission. Like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. Like this was the realest thing either of them had ever done. Maya kissed him back, her hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer, trying to communicate everything she couldn't say out loud. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Julian pressed his forehead to hers. So, what do we do now? I don't know. Maya laughed shakily. This wasn't in the plan. Screw the plan. But people are expecting. Let them expect. Julian pulled back enough to look at her properly. Or we tell them the truth. All of it. The fake pregnancy, the reason for it, everything. We deal with the embarrassment and the judgment, and we come out the other side together. Together, Maya repeated, testing the word. As in actually together? Not pretending. As in I'd like to take you on a real first date. One where you don't have to fake pregnancy to escape me. Maya laughed, really laughed, for the first time in weeks. That's a low bar. I'll exceed expectations. Julian's expression turned serious. But only if you want this. Only if you're sure. Because once we're really together, once we tell the truth, there's no taking it back. Maya thought about Evan and his controlling behavior. About her mother's expectations. About the lie that had spiraled out of control and somehow led her to the most honest connection she'd ever felt. I'm sure, she said. Terrified, but sure. Good. Julian kissed her again, softer this time, like a promise. Because I'm terrified too. They told the truth 3 days later. Posted a joint statement on social media explaining everything. The fake pregnancy, the reason for it, the unexpected relationship that had grown from the lie. The response was mixed. Some people were angry at the deception. Others were sympathetic to Maya's original predicament. A few called it the most romantic thing they'd ever heard. Evan threatened legal action, then went quiet when Julian's documentation of his harassment was forwarded to his employer. Patricia was furious for exactly 1 day before calling Maya and saying, well, at least he's still the man I met at Sunday dinner. And you're still my daughter. Come over this weekend. We need to talk. 6 months later, Maya and Julian moved in together. 1 year later, Julian proposed. And when Maya eventually did get pregnant, for real this time, they told everyone immediately, laughing about the irony, grateful for the strange and twisted path that had led them to each other. But sometimes, late at night, Maya would think about that moment in the restaurant, about how close she'd come to never meeting Julian, about how a desperate lie had saved her twice, once from Evan and once from a life where she never would have known what it felt like to be loved completely, honestly, with no pretending required. If this story kept you hooked all the way to the end, please take a moment to like this video. Your support means everything. Drop a comment below telling me what you think. Was Maya wrong to lie? Was Julian's involvement romantic or reckless? And don't forget to subscribe for more emotional, twist-filled stories. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.